Lando, good to see you.
How you doing?
Hope you had a chance to finish most of your food there.
Yeah, I'm good.
Had never seen you before, never met you before, but been watching you for a while now. Always said this guy, strong, smaller guy. Strong. How'd you get so strong and so tough on those rebounds and tough playing inside as a smaller guy?
Freshman, sophomore year, I played on the football team. I was on the varsity team. Then after my sophomore year, I decided to focus more on basketball.
What position you played back when you were playing football? Where'd they have you at back then?
I played wide receiver and free safety.
Well, some good hitting times back then, and got physical back in those days.
Yeah.
How about that first quarter the other night? I mean, I was saying this guy's the Orlando Magic. This guy's having a magic night. I started thinking about something. This guy's going to score 80 points. He's almost at a 20-point per quarter clip right now in the first with 19. This guy's going to score 80. But how about that first quarter? I mean, if nothing else, didn't get the win, tough loss that night, but hey, you got to be thinking, when you're an old guy down the road, Orlando Smith's around the old store, somewhere out in the country landscape, talking with some friends, it's not that night, scored 19 in that first quarter. How about that night?
It was, I felt good. Like, came out, it was senior night, had to come out, just have a good time with my seniors, and the ball felt good coming out my hands, and my teammates kept finding me, and they were going in.
How about those threes? I mean, there were like 5 threes, I think, there too.
It was 5 threes. That's usually that's one of the strengths of my game. Like, I practice shooting threes all the time, like in practice or after practice, or on the weekends. I just go to the gym. I like to shoot threes.
How tough is it to follow up a game like that the next night out, the next game after that? Because you had one game, I think, earlier this season. It was right before the Northwest game. I think you hit for about 26 or 28. Came back Northwest game, maybe off that a little bit. But how tough is it to follow up that same thing the following night?
It's kind of tough, but for me, I just think of every possession as a whole new possession. Like, you just start over from scratch, go from there, go as hard as you can every time.
How many did you finish with that night? I can't remember for Tuesday. Was it about 27?
27.
So it gets kind of quiet. What changes? I mean, I'm just asking these basketball strategy and the part of the game questions now. What changed? You have a 19-point first quarter, and then with 8 the rest. What changes when you don't get as many the rest of the way? What changed that night?
Well, Northwest, they picked up the intensity, and we weren't up. We didn't match their level, so we got real stagnant on offense, and they were executing, and we were just out of it.
When you get stagnant like that, is it hard to get that blaze, get that fire burning again after you?
It's not hard. I mean, for us, it only takes 1 or 2 shots to go in, and we're back rolling. But we weren't getting those shots. We couldn't get any rebounds or stops. It was just tough.
It's a game of runs. You guys did have a late run, too, to get back in that game. That went in about 6, I believe, late in the game. And Northwest able to come back and kind of sustain that run and finish it off. What do you got to do different next time you play those guys?
Next time, we have to keep them out of the lane so they can't get those easy looks at the basket and contest those open threes. And it's probably a closer game. And they went on a big run in the third quarter. They had 33 points. And if we subtract some of that, keep them to a normal scoring, then we win that game.
You look at Northwest Guilford. What do you see the biggest strength of their team being?
The biggest strength of their team is they play hard, all the time. When they play hard, it makes the other teams confused and play to a way they're not used to playing.
Kind of gets them mixed up a little bit with all that scramble going on, that scramble defense. You look at a guy like Reggie Davis, you probably know Reggie. Reggie had a big game that night, but he didn't have a big game over at their place. To me, he seemed like one of the differences in the game that night, possibly.
Yeah, he's like an X factor for the team. When he plays well, they become a whole lot better overall, and it makes it tough to stop them.
It's a good point, because he kind of becomes a guy who can not only hurt you inside, he can hurt you outside too in that same instance. Who do you match up most with the Northwest team? Are you matching up mostly with Spicer and maybe with possibly Gore, or who else?
I believe I match up pretty good with Jalen Gore. Mm-hmm. We offset each other. He's a really strong driver, and I'm a shooter. It's like you're guarding the opposite of yourself.
It's pretty good stuff, like looking in the mirror kind of each other in a lot of ways. But it was a crazy game last year at your place, too, when you played them, because Gore had a last-second shot. There was kind of some controversy about that. You guys hit 100 points that night at your place against them last year. Some good battles in Northwest. Is Northwest go for the team you like to play the most?
It is, actually. We have a packed gym every time we play them. It's a close game. high intensity. It makes you really have to play your best.
What would it be like to see those guys again, maybe for a third time this year in the conference championship next Friday night? And who's to say, we almost feel like that has to be the match. That has to happen again.
It'll be pretty good. That's what we're looking for. We can't end with the tie. We definitely don't want to be on the losing end of that 3 games. So we always look to come out on top in our conference, and we don't like to lose anybody.
Man, you did a pretty good job of that most of the way this year, too. Was it 22-0 going in that game that night?
22-0.
It's amazing. And Charlotte Catholic, they were right there with you guys. Overall record, and they got beat last week, too. You look at any unbeaten teams left in the state men-wise, 4A, do you know them now? I don't know. Carey's down in the eastern part of the state. Interesting. I got to check them out. Good point there. How about that Northwest Guilford girls team? Do you think they can run the table? They're the only unbeaten team left around here.
Yeah, I think they will. They have a really good team. They play really well together.
You've watched them play a little bit?
Every time they played us, I watched them.
Who impresses you most of that Northwest Guilford girls team?
I haven't really watched them that much. I usually see the second half. I have to say I don't know her name, but it's one of their big. She's a big
Morgan Pointer, maybe. You got Morgan on the inside.
Yeah, she's tough.
She's got good hands too. You see players when they knock balls out of bounds, they're coming through that lane, and you can tell that's going to be a good defensive player. Going to be a pretty good rebound, a pretty good offensive player too. What's the strongest part of your game, you think? Does it go back to the three-point shooting, or what's the strongest part?
I think the strongest part of my game would be probably defense. Like, I can basically night in, night out, I'm usually the one guarding the best player, and that right there, that puts me in tune for my offensive game. So I'm already playing hard and intense, and I'm locked in.
You know what? You play bigger than your size. How tall are you probably?
About 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, but you play bigger. As I said one time, that guy reminds me of Jerry Stackhouse because he plays strong and he plays big. You probably get that, people mention that to you quite a few times as well.
Yeah, growing up, playing AAU, like, when I was really young, maybe in like elementary school, I was one of the taller guys at elementary school, middle school, and I always played big. I played center coming up. So
it's kind of amazing how you're bigger when you're younger, then you don't grow anymore. I was in the same boat myself. Remember, it's kind of, I was thinking about the same thing the other day. You look back at those old class photographs when you're like in elementary school. If you're standing in the back row, you know you were big back then.
Right.
You used to stand in the back row back then and got moved to the front when I got older. It's kind of a shame we don't get any bigger, but I mean you just got to keep playing strong and play to your strengths. And your strengths again, probably like you say, would be
defense and shooting.
Defense. Do you ever pick up the other team's top opposing player as far as the defensive assignment goes from the guard standpoint?
Yeah, our Langleys, they lead us in steals and everything, but usually we have like ball pressure and stuff to like get a steal out of a pass from the air. So that ball pressure enables that to happen. They're really good at anticipating those passes too.
Got some good hands, very quick, very quick. I talked to the Langleys about that. You said the same thing, I think, too. The fact that the lane was so tight in that third quarter, Northwest just got hands in and they cut down those inside passes. Hard to get the ball inside. If you got it inside, there was resistance in the first pass, and the second pass, it was getting stolen or knocked away.
Right.
What do you think about Cam Newton's situation? Let's go to Cam out of the box. He got the MVP award. Can't take that away from him. But do you think Cam should give the award back after a tough Super Bowl outing?
Well, I don't think he should give it back. I think he has to learn that you have to be consistent all around. Even when your team's not playing well, you still have to do your part and also pick up your teammates and encourage them to play hard.
Yeah, you're right about that, because even some of the post-game comments, you talked about wasn't the best game they could play, had a lot of drop passes, had a lot of fumbles, had a lot of penalties. You don't throw, like I said, don't throw it off on your teammates if you can. I mean, Cam can't be Peyton Manning. They're two different people. Peyton Manning, one thing with Peyton was always kind of slick. He's always would kind of, in a way, encourage and give a positive note about his teammates what they did. It's always kind of the way you draw it up, the kind of way you spin it. I mean, eventually you got to throw a positive spin out there no matter what, win, loss, or whatever. After your loss of the night against Northwest, what's your positive spin about that game? What's some of the upsides of that game?
Upside is it wasn't a playoff game, so we can always come back and regroup as a team, fix those mistakes, and improve from those mistakes and use it in the future.
What about your goal for life as a whole? What do you expect to do with your job when you get out in professional world business, that type of thing?
My goal for life, I want to go to college and study sports medicine and possibly become a athletic trainer or a physical therapist somewhere. Just stay around sports,
Any idea where you want to go to school?
I was looking at Catawba to go. They have a pretty good program. And Winston-Salem State has a pretty good program, too.
So those might be possibilities. Are you able to continue playing basketball when you go to college, you think?
I think so. I've been having a lot of schools, well, not a lot, but like a couple schools come and talk to me about playing. It's looking pretty good right
When you
now.
have those high-scoring nights sometimes, you get more mail, more interest in. The schools find out about those kind of things pretty quick. Ultimate basketball goal is to win the state title. What would that mean to Orlando Smith? And not Tony Orlando and Dawn, but Orlando Smith, not the Orlando Magic, but Orlando Smith and the Southwest Cover Cowboys. What would it mean to you guys and to you?
To us, it'll be a really big deal for us. For the past few years, we've had a really pretty solid team, but we not really go deep into the playoffs. And to turn that around and start a new history for us, that'd be great. And looking in the future, I've been playing for Coach Shavers for 3 years now, and that's what he wants the most is a ring, and I'd love to get that for him.
Listen, you've done a great job. I'd never talked to you before. Talked to you tonight. Just appreciate your time here at Shannon's Rib Shack. The good job you do on the court. We will not forget number 2. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Orlando Smith.